In the classroom, it can mean different things. So we've actually went ahead out into the field. Here we are in a local middle school classroom and are ready to do an interview with the teacher, Miss Veliev. Oh, Miss Veliev, how are you doing today?
Doing good, how are you?
I'm good. All right, folks, today we're at a local middle school here. We have Miss Veliev. She's a 7th grade math teacher, and I believe you're going to tell us a little something about how you differentiate your lessons.
Yeah, of course. So in my class today, we're working on 3-digit multiplication. So to differentiate my lessons, I first start by taking what I consider to be my most advanced groups of students, right? And I make a worksheet geared towards them. So for that, I use all 3-digit times 2-digit multiplication with a little bit more complex numbers, I would say, for them. And then once I have that one made up, I kind of work my way down from there. So then I go to what I would consider my Tier 2 worksheet for my students who are kind of getting the concepts but still need a little bit of help. So I still take those same numbers, maybe simplify them a little bit by adding in some zeros, taking away some of the little bit harder numbers. So they're still doing it, but it's a little bit at an easier level. And then I work towards my Tier 3, which is the most simplified version of the worksheet. So here it's all 3-digit times 1-digit multiplication, again with simpler numbers, and this is really geared towards my students who need the most help. So while they're still doing 3-digit multiplication, they have a little bit of an easier numbers to work with, but still getting the same concepts in at the same time.
So let me get this straight. Let me run through this again. So you start with your most advanced worksheet, and then you work down. You make it more simple as you go. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit more? Like, what are you actually doing here?
Right, so what I'm doing is taking what I consider my most advanced groups of students and making that worksheet really geared towards them, what I think is going to challenge them. And then I take it down a level for each tier so that while I have a wide variety of students in my class, each of them are still able to be successful at the same goal, just at different levels. So each tier I just simplify it a little bit more just so all my students can be able to work on the same thing and still succeed in my class.
Is it easier for you starting at this advanced tier and then kind of paring down? Like, are you in Microsoft Word kind of like deleting things? Does that make it easy for you?
Yeah, it does. Especially starting at the most advanced level, I can see where my students need to be, where I want them to be, and then I can just make little tweaks and changes here and there just to gear it towards all my students. I feel like it's a lot easier to start at the more advanced level and work down rather than the other way around.
Okay, Ms. Veliev, let's kind of shift gears maybe from differentiation. Let's just talk about general accessibility. What do you do in your classroom so that your classroom is the most accessible environment for all of your students?
Sure, yeah, I have 2 really big things that I think are super important to make my classroom accessible. The first of which is not changing up my classroom orientation at all, which means just keeping all the desks in the same place, my desk in the same place, using the same whiteboard every day. This is really helpful for a wide variety of my students. I mean, I have a lot of students who are visually impaired, who have autism, behavioral disorders. Like, this really helps them create a routine, and also for my visually impaired, if I happen to move a desk or move things, like, they could possibly run into that, and I don't want to make things any harder for them than it already could be in my classroom. Another really big thing I like to do is establish a classroom routine for all my students. That's especially beneficial for kids who have ADHD and such, because having a routine is very important to them and helps them stay focused in my classroom. If I'm constantly changing up what's going on, there might be too much stimulation for them and they can really lose focus. So having a really set routine is really helpful for those students, not only them, but all my students in the classroom.
Okay, Ms. Veliev, we're just about done here. I have one more question for you before we get going. And this one actually is for the people at home. So, what is the most important thing that you want the people at home to know about accessible education?
Sure, I think it's really important to know that, like, my job as an educator is to meet my students wherever they're at. Like, every student is going to be at a different part of life, a different level of math. And I think it's really important that as educators we make our classrooms accessible and our content easy for our students to understand. It's really important that we do our best to help our students succeed inside and out of our classes.
Great. Well, there you have it, folks. This concludes our interview with Ms. Veliev. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we'll throw it back to Deb in the studio.